Welcome, everyone, to the relaunch of the Dolphin Pod. This is Joe Foreman. I will be your host this week. And if you're watching this during our exclusive preview, coming up next will be CSI Dolphins women's basketball. The Dolphins at home today against East Stroudsburg University. That game is coming up at 1 p.m. But again, if you are watching during our exclusive preview on Saturday, November 19th, you will be sent straight to our interview with CSI Dolphins head coach Tibbs. Of course, TJ is the head coach of the men's basketball team. Our next interview will be with CSI Dolphins women's basketball head coach Nicole Sarcone. And welcome back to the Dolphin Pod, our relaunch episode 1, the pilot of the all-new Dolphin Pod. Once again, this is Joe Foreman joining you from the College of Staten Island, and I am joined by men's basketball head coach TJ Tibbs. I know Dave always appreciated your willingness to come on and talk to him, and I appreciate you coming back to talk to me on this pilot episode.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me. It's always been a great time to come on the Dolphin Pod and whatever capacity it may be and just talk about Dolphin sports. And it's great to be here with you. And Dave definitely started an amazing thing, and it's great and only right and fitting that you're the one carrying it on. So it's great to be sitting here with you talking about things.
Our loyal listeners know that you spent the last year ahead of this year as the interim director of athletics and recreation. You returned to the sidelines about a week ago for our annual Tournament of Heroes. Return to the sideline. What you expected versus how it actually turned out. What were the differences there, or did it go as you expected?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a team standpoint, it didn't go as we expected because, you want to win every game that you played. But, the Tournament of Heroes is about way more than my individual return, which, of course, around here, it's a big deal personally, a big deal in my family. But that day will forever be about the 3 men that passed away in 9/11, their families, their legacies, what they meant to our program, what they still mean to our program, and exposing that to other people who are not a part of our program, and including the newcomers in our program. It's their first time going around with it. But I had a lot of emotions personally. I hadn't coached in 2 years. The COVID year, we spent time on Zoom. We didn't get to practice. And, of course, last year being an interim AD. So it was just a long time coming. I really just couldn't stop smiling leading up to it and just being around. It just feels so great to be back on the sideline with the guys and, coaching and at the place where I played at. It's just, I'd be here all day if I tried to put my emotions into words.
We're going to talk about it a bit more later. At one point, you weren't smiling, and that was the halftime interview. It's hard to get you to crack a smile during the halftime interview. I promise I'm going to try before the end of the season. But speaking about the Tournament of Heroes, of course, Terrence Aiken, Scott Davidson, Tom Hannafin, the reason we all gather at the start of each men's basketball season at our Tournament of Heroes, that was no different this year. But how about the energy in the building? Last year, there was definitely some energy in the building, but for this Tournament of Heroes, with some of the restrictions lifted in terms of access to campus and attending games, the tank was packed, and it was quite the atmosphere.
Electric. And there's no mistake. I think the reason why we played well was because of the crowd. So many families, alumni. I mean, we have our alumni come upstairs to the locker room after the game, and there were so many former players here, so many families here, so many community members here. It was just awesome. And kudos to the other 3 teams that were here, Wilmington, Goldie, and Bentley. They traveled well. And I know Bentley and Goldie played before us, and some hung around and watched the game, and it just added to the atmosphere. And, Friday night is always the night here, the first game. And it was just an electric atmosphere, incredible basketball game, a great team. Kudos to Wilmington for winning the game. But that's the stuff that makes CSI what it is there's so many different people that have ties to this program and community people being here at the game and just being loud for our team. So we just got to give them something to continue to cheer about.
Well, speaking of the halftime interview, most often when you join us for halftime, you talk about what needs to be improved. This weekend, it was a slow finish to the half. You spoke about that and the toughness that you wanted to see from your team. Now, what many people don't see on camera is when you're very proud of your team, those celebrations. I don't get to share those with you on camera much. There are recordings of them, I know, from a few years back. We had some big victories. You're quite the celebratory coach on camera during those big times and those big wins, but I know it's a broad question. What would you say is your proudest moment as a coach? What was your most proud moment as head coach from your entire tenure? And, of course, that leads up until now, this past week.
In general, it is certainly the graduation rate of what we have here. We take pride in guys who have exhausted their eligibility and them graduating. So we've graduated all but one player so far. And I know that one player is going to work on what he needs to get done, and that's a big thing in our program. So every year, graduation is a really proud moment for me. It's the biggest moment in the program. But if I had to pick something on the court as far as proud, I remember my first victory here, selfishly speaking. It was tough. We weren't supposed to be a good team that year. Everybody around here, it was my first year. We were talking about rebuilding, and I was talking about everything but rebuilding. And we won a game versus Sinus at the Lebanon Valley tournament. My dad surprised me at the game. Drove all the way up by himself to the game. And after the game, I just walked off the court, and my dad's not a big show of emotion. My dad's a tough guy, and he just hugged me, and I just lost it, and it was crying hysterically. It was just such a big moment. There's so many things that were going on, and at the time, do you have confidence? Can you do this? Can you coach? We had lost a bunch of games. There was a lot of whispers around the department about how bad we were going to be. And just to get that first one was such a big moment. And then you walk into the locker room and these guys are waiting with water bottles. And it's still a video that the guys share from time to time, lifting me up. And then I lost it again, was crying again. So that first team has meant a lot to me and a lot to my growth. And they've given me the joy to coach. So graduation is definitely the biggest thing. And then selfishly, that first win just kind of proving to myself that, I can do this, and I think that's very important for confidence for anybody.
And I know your first team is a special team to me. That was my first full season calling basketball. So your start as head coach and my start as doing most of the games on Sportsnet by that time coincided. And I know that team was a lot of fun to watch, and especially the team that went down to Cabrini. For me as a broadcaster, that was one of the craziest days I've ever experienced, driving up there through the snow. Getting there, getting a chance to call the game, operate the camera was a lot of fun for me. But something you said about the graduation rate, that speaks to the culture of your team. And it led right into my next question pretty well. Part of it is on the court, the brand of basketball you're looking to play, but what is the culture you're looking to establish with your team? I know this is something you've touched on in the past. Perhaps that's changed a bit since the last time you were here as you've learned more through your coaching tenure. Brand of basketball on the court and the culture both on and off of it.
Player centric. We have to be player led and player driven. We have to, as coaches, be able to empower the players to be able to have a big impact on the program. So I love recruiting high school kids because they're going to be way different men than they are when they're young men when they come into the program. I thoroughly enjoyed their growth and the little things. We have such a young team now, and there's so many things for them to grow on daily. It's why I coach college basketball, and I know college basketball is shifting to get as old as you possibly can, and the transfer portal and getting kids for 1 year, and kudos to anybody who does that, and it's within the rules. But I much rather have a kid for 4 years, 5 years in some cases with redshirt opportunities, like a Chris Velasquez who's been here for 5 years, was the first kid I ever recruited. And the fact that I can sit down with Chris Velasquez and talk about when he scored his 1,000-point, I was at the game in high school. His last high school game, he lost at the buzzer. I was at that game. And I'm going to be a part of his last college game. There's nothing better than that. And that kid is going to be a part of my life for life, and I'm going to be a part of his life for life. So our program has to reflect that on and off the court. We have extremely high standards. We have to excel in the classroom. We want to be the best GPA here, and it's pretty hard with the programs all excelling here. We want to be the best GPA in men's basketball in the conference and in the region. We want to be incredibly active socially, and we want to be the best basketball players we possibly can. So it's very hard to do all three, to be great academically, athletically, and socially. But we try to recruit young men and families that are going to buy into that and understand that there's going to be struggle before there's progress, and there's progress every single day. I'm the team's biggest fan, but I'm also their harshest critic. And it starts with my criticism of myself, my accountability of myself and the coaches, and just working its way through there. But we can't reach our levels of heights without the players growing and taking responsibility and accountability of the program.
Well, in terms of fandom, I'm not far behind you. I've always been behind this team, a supporter, both from the sidelines and when I'm not here watching from home, though. I'm not sure I've missed more than one game in the last 6 seasons. So I've been here for most of them. It's been a great ride, and I really enjoy watching your team play. One last question about this year's team, their performance so far. What's your evaluation of your team so far, and what do you have to do heading into next week's game to pick up your first victory at St. Michael's?
I think we're right where we should be. I think our record could be any combination of 2-1, 1-2. We didn't play good enough the other night versus Holy Family. Kudos to them to really win the game. We didn't make enough shots, but I thought we played our best defensive game of the year. The game kind of got away. They had a string of threes in the second half, and that's kind of just basketball. The ball went in the basket for them in a run, and we didn't make a run back, and the game got away from us. But I'm excited about where we are. I think we're growing in every aspect of the game. We're playing a lot of youth, and I'm proud of that. A lot of sophomores, a lot of freshmen, one junior. We have a lot of guys hurt right now that would contribute, but everybody's stepping up, and we don't make any excuses as next man up. So we, of course, would like to be 3-0 right now. And every team wants to win every game that they play, but we need to continue to build so that we're effective in the conference season. We're in a conference right now that is extremely competitive, and it's going to be a fight, a battle every single night. We have to build ourselves to be ready to play that for the stretch run of the conference season. So we want to win every game we play. That's why we scheduled them. But the most important thing, like with all our teams, is to make sure we're growing, and then the results will come. We don't want any gold-plated results. We want to be gold. We could be 2-1 or 1-2. We could have got a win in Tournament of Heroes, but the guys might have not understood all the things we need to get better at to actually win more basketball games. So I don't want anything handed to us. I want to actually earn our wins, and we'll start to build from there. So the guys are working hard every single day. They're receptive to coaching. They come in a lot for individual film, and I have confidence in this group that we'll grow and we'll be right where we should be at the end.
Now, I'm 1-0 on the season. Thanks to you, a victory in the faculty, staff versus students game. Now, before we talk about how that game ended,
hold on, you certainly contributed, and we spoke about this. So.
Not in a good way, but we're going to talk about that right now. I want to get your coaching expertise. I need you to evaluate the performance of me and the sports information staff as we came in and promptly turned what was a 2-point deficit into a 9-point deficit. How'd we do?
Well, I'll tell you this first off. Your accessory game was better than anybody's ever. This man was out here playing with an AirPod.
Accidentally.
Yeah, the AirPod in his ear. I've seen guys with sleeves and headbands and leg sleeves, but an AirPod on the basketball court, that was new to me. So your accessory game was 10 out of 10.
Okay.
We had hats out there from the SID staff. I mean, no, but I thought, you played hard. You played hard.
I definitely gave it my best effort.
You definitely played hard.
It wasn't very good, but I gave it my best.
You rebounded. You contributed. And I think what I like to say from a coaching standpoint is your group wore the group down. So when the first group
That's
came
a generous assessment.
When the first group came in, it was a little bit easier for us to do some damage. But no, that was it's a fun game every year. We've played the football games, softball games, the basketball games. I think it's just another way for us to ingratiate ourselves to the students. So that was a fun game.
Now let's talk about how the game ended. Our viewers at home are going to see it on their screens, but you and I will relive it right now. Our team down at the end by 2 points. Nobody plays for the tie in the faculty, staff versus students game. That is forbidden.
No overtime.
So we need a winner. We put the ball in your hands. What went through your head on that play leading up to the game-winning shot?
Well, it's so funny because it's I haven't played basketball since I left here in 2012, but it just felt right. I was fortunate to be on a couple of teams and be in positions where they trusted me to take some last shots. And it's funny because I'm out there with Kurt Menezzi, who was my teammate, and a couple other men's basketball coaches. And there was no discussion. There was no doubt about it. I was shooting a three. I didn't care who was guarding me, how many people guarded me. I was getting a three up. And, just got to a spot and rose up. And fortunately, I found a guy who was smaller than me on the court, so I was able to rise up and get my shot off, and the ball went through, and that was it for me. I was exhausted, and I promptly left the gym.
You sprinted out of there quick.
I left the gym. I didn't want to hear nothing. I didn't have energy to celebrate. I actually left and went next door and just laid down on the ground because I was literally exhausted. But that was a fun way.
As was I. And I was on the bench.
No, it was a fun way. But, yeah, undefeated. I'm undefeated in football, basketball, so...
Yes.
They need better students. So if students are watching this, go recruit somebody.
He's looking at the camera now. You know he means business.
Go recruit somebody to come out and guard me next year because I need somebody who's going to make me sweat a little bit more.
We'll certainly be looking forward to football. Whether or not you get out there for that, we'll see. We didn't have you last year. We have had you in the past. I know I haven't lost a football game or a softball game. Basketball, have we lost since you arrived?
We have never lost.
Okay, then I have never lost a faculty staff game. So now I'm going to look at the camera and challenge someone to come out and take the staff down. It should be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Of course, Sal does a great job organizing those events.
Awesome job, man. There's so much work that goes into that. And what I love about Sal is that the kids, the students, really respect Sal and really appreciate what he does. And for us to come out, after a day of hard work, we had a game the next day. And just to be able to go out there and play basketball with a ref and under the whistle and laugh and win.
That's right. We won. Don't forget it. 1-0.
Had to win. Shout out to Sal and his staff that helped out because that's just so much fun. That's all. I love that.
We're going to have some guest co-hosts on the Dolphin Pod. Perhaps one episode we could have you, but certainly Sal will be a frequent guest host of mine here on the all-new Dolphin Pod, so we look forward to having Sal join us for that. Now, you and I do have some experience as play-by-play and color commentators side by side. We've done a game in the past. We had an unfinished conversation. Our favorite sauce. I know you gave your opinions. I asked you, is ketchup a sauce? The answer is still no, correct?
It's not a sauce. It is a condiment.
Okay, that's a good answer. That's probably the right answer, but ketchup is still my go-to. Now, my question for you is, have you downloaded any of those apps and started taking advantage of all that free food?
I have not. I'm so lazy when it comes to things like that. I barely even use my wife gets on me because I hoard my my credit card membership points. Like we need things and it's like flights or whatever and it's just let's use your points. I'm like, no, because we might need them for 2040 when the world goes down and we need a flight or something like that. But no, I haven't downloaded any of the apps, but I am still on a mission to find the best sources of everywhere. And man, my list probably from then, my list has grown of all the sources that I've tried and that I've loved.
Well, of course, our newest scoreboard sponsor is McDonald's. Mm-hmm. What's your go-to order at McDonald's, and do you have a favorite sauce from their lineup?
Yeah, I'll get a McChicken with mac sauce or a McDouble with mac sauce. Got to get nuggets because you can't stop at McDonald's without nuggets and get fries. And I get one sweet and sour sauce and one barbecue sauce. If the people at the window are feeling good, I get myself the spicy, the orange sauce. I think it's buffalo sauce there. So I have gone to some McDonald's and, they're kind of stingy with the sauces. And whenever somebody's willing to give me 6 to 8 sauces, regardless of what I have, I'm taking those home and I'm saving them for later. So big sauce guy here.
Now, I spoke about your halftime interview during the Tournament of Heroes Game 1, and I said we'd circle back to it. We're going to do that right now. How hard was it for you not to crack a smile when you saw what Nick Durst was holding in his left hand? He had a McDonald's cup filled with water. Then on top of the straw, he had his box of chicken McNuggets resting on top of that straw. What was going through your mind when you saw that?
First of all, if it wasn't Nick, I probably would have lost it, but it's Nick. So, I mean,
what does that mean?
This guy's Instagram is Nick's food and stuff.
Good point.
So
Good point.
I didn't know what was going on. What is going on with this guy? And why are the nuggets on top of the drink? It was hilarious, but I was so locked. I seen it, but I was so locked that I didn't have time. And when I rewatched the interview, I was like, wow, he mentioned McDonald's as a sponsor, which I know, but I didn't even hear that when he was speaking to me. But I think it's hilarious. The Mickey threes last year for Austin Mick.
We love that.
Oh yeah. So and I've heard some of his references this year. He's always gonna pay homage to people during the broadcast. So,
certainly does.
Yeah. No, it was a little hard for me not to smile with that out, but he did a great job with that halftime interview.
According to Nick, Luis Armas hit a Fergalicious 3 during the most recent game. I misheard it and said to him during the broadcast, I've never heard someone use the word delicious
right.
to describe a 3. It's a testament to how loud it was in the building this weekend.
He said he's working out. He used the line from the song, man. That was incredible. I don't even know how he does this. Does he come in with a list of things like if this happens, I'm going to say this, or does he just freestyle off the top? Because that's just I don't even know how you even equate the two.
A little of both. Now, I'm watching him during the game, and as he makes these calls, he's writing this stuff down so that he can timestamp, go back, and then post it to his Instagram, which is Nick's Food Stuff. So follow that, of course, on Instagram. Now, Nick did get a message. Your players are very interested in pregame interviews. Is that something that will ever happen?
Yeah, I think anything that supports what's going on here and trumpets the players and what they're doing is great. I mean, I stay in the locker room during pregame warmups because guys need a way to get ready. I get ready a certain way. I don't want to be a burden to guys getting ready because I get ready a certain way. I was like that as a player. I didn't come out and to warmups until I had to because everybody gets ready differently and I want to respect that. So if you guys think it's a good idea, it's definitely a great idea. So I'm with anything that helps the players get exposed and shows people what they're doing.
Well, I know he'll be excited to hear that. Last question, circling back to the team one final time. Goals for the remainder of the season, and of course, the big question on the minds of many people, how important is this year being playoff eligible to you personally and to the players and the team?
Well, I'll start with that first. Being playoff eligible is everything. I tell you, in recruiting, a lot of times, people would say they wouldn't choose us because we can't go to the tournament, and I thought that stuff was kind of overrated. You choose schools for the experience and building, and there are teams that are eligible every year to go to the playoffs, but everybody doesn't make the playoffs. Everybody doesn't make the NCAA tournament. So I think being eligible for the playoffs gives us a little bit more credibility with people that don't really understand how college basketball works, and plus you're competing for something. I remember that first year. 1920, my last year coaching before this year, it was a really tough year just because in the middle of January, it's snowing outside, you come into practice, and we have a game in 2 days, but to some of the seniors who have been in 2 championship games and won a championship, how much did the game really matter? You're not hyping up positioning. Our games in the CUNYAC didn't matter in the standings. So it was really difficult. You want to compete because there's a game out there, but at the same time, it was really hard. So to be able to have an end goal and continue to build is awesome to be back in that. The goals are always the same. It's to win a championship every single year. Anything less than a championship is just not a success. So that's what the standard Coach Petoza set. Coaches before him, Coach Pickman, Coach Rupert. I'm going to forget coaches, so I'm going to stop right there. But it's very important for us to contend for a championship. So everything that goes on for the season is about improving every single day, getting better, staying healthy, making sure we can control what we can control, and to be right there in the end so that we can contend. We just want to give ourselves a chance. So, yeah, making the playoffs is certainly a goal, but we're trying to win a championship. So whether we make the playoffs as a 6 seed, we make the playoffs as a 1 seed, we're fighting for it on the last day. Of course, you have to make the playoffs first. We don't want to skip steps, but we're not talking about making the playoffs. We're talking about steps we need to be a championship program because just making the playoffs, as great as it would be for the first time, it would be a low bar to set respectfully. And that's just not how we roll here in this program.
Well, TJ, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining the show. Once again, this is the relaunch of the Dolphin Pod, our pilot episode exclusively at csidolphins.com.